You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
Did you ever expect Toys R Us titan of Toy Storesto to file for bankruptcy? For many of us, it seemed to come out of nowhere. You're probably thinking, wasn't this just another casualty of online shopping? That's the headline everywhere, but let's dig deeper. Bankruptcy isn't just about losing to Amazon. It's a legal process where a company restructures or wipes out its debts to survive. And trust me, what's happening with Toys R Us goes way beyond digital competition. So, what really happened behind the scenes? Let's unravel the story together, layer by layer. Let me tell you a story. In 1948, a young entrepreneur named Charles Lazarus opened a small baby furniture shop, Children's Bargain Town. Now, here's the twist. As he watched parents stream in, he noticed cribs lasted a decade, but toys? They broke or got boring fast. That's product lifecycle in action, the time a product stays useful. Lazarus saw an opportunity. What if he focused on goods that needed constant replacement? By 1957, Toys R Us was born, and the toy store model was changed forever. Sometimes, the biggest companies are built by simply observing what people keep coming back for. Ever wondered why it's Toys R Us and not just Toy Store? That quirky backwards R? It's all about branding a way to stick in your memory. It's called distinctive identity. And did you know their mascot was once named Dr. G? Raph? Not exactly catchy. Rebranding him as Geoffrey the Giraffe created an emotional connection, a classic marketing move called character branding. Now, you might be thinking, does a mascot really matter? Well, for decades, Geoffrey invited millions of kids into the magical world of toys. That's how you build loyalty, one childhood memory at a time. In 1978, Toys R Us went public. What does that mean? Suddenly, anyone could buy a piece of the company through stock ownership. The influx of capital fueled rapid expansion, leading to spin-offs like Kids R Us in 1983 and Babies R Us in 1996. But here's the conflict: the naming strategy. While Toys R Us is crystal clear, Kids R Us sounds like it sells kids, not clothes. That's a branding misstep, misaligned messaging. Still, these moves show how companies try to capture more of the market, sometimes at the cost of clarity. Let's talk about 2005, a pivotal year. Toys R Us was taken private in the leveraged buyout, or LBO. Here's the setup. Investors buy a company mostly using borrowed money. Imagine buying a house with only 10% down and a huge mortgage. The company itself becomes collateral, which is risky. If profits drop, paying that debt, called debt servicing, becomes a nightmare. Toys R Us took on over $6.6 billion in debt. Now, you might ask, why risk so much? LBOs can yield huge rewards if growth follows. But if not, the debt acts like an anchor, pulling you under. Let's pause and look at the debt graph. Toys R Us's obligations soared post-2005. Here's the conflict. Debt isn't inherently bad, it's a financial lever. But when interest payments outpace cash coming in, what's called negative cash flow trouble brews. The company's own annual reports warned, our substantial indebtedness could have important consequences. Sound familiar? It's like taking a pay cut but still owing the same mortgage. As soon as sales slowed, debt payments became unmanageable. That's the difference between a stumble and a fall. Now, let's address the elephanter, the giant Amazon. Online competition is real. E-commerce creates price transparency. Everyone can compare and buy with a click. But it's not just Amazon. Big box stores like Walmart and Target use loss leader pricing, selling toys at slim margins to draw in shoppers for other goods. Toys R Us faced a two-front war, online and offline. You might wonder, couldn't they compete online? They tried launching ToysRus.com and acquiring eToys.com, but as we'll see, it wasn't enough to move the needle. Let me ask, when's the last time you saw kids clamoring for yo-yos over iPads? There's been a tectonic shift, what economists call substitution effect. Video games and mobile apps have replaced a chunk of traditional toy spending. Why buy a 50 Lego set when a new app is free? It's not just about products. It's about consumer preferences evolving. The result? Declining toy sales across the board. Toys R Us wasn't just competing with retailers. It was up against a new definition of play. That's a battle even the best stores can lose. But here's a tough question. Did Toys R Us innovate enough? If you walked in lately, did it feel magical or just expensive? This is what business strategists call brand fatigue. Over time, what was once special becomes just another store. Meanwhile, competitors improve their customer experience, think interactive displays or in-store events. Now, you might be thinking, couldn't Toys R Us have reinvented itself? Sure, but huge debt payments left little room for risky investments or bold experiments. It's a vicious cycle. Less innovation means fewer shoppers, leading to even less money for change. So, what happens now? Bankruptcy isn't always the end. It's sometimes a life-linear chance for debt restructuring. Essentially, the company negotiates with creditors to lower payments and free up cash. The hope? Toys R Us can refocus on its strengths, maybe lower prices, or make stores more fun again. But the stakes are high. Will they adapt fast enough? That's the unresolved tension. If they do, we might see a comeback. If not, the story of Toys R Us becomes a cautionary tale about debt, disruption, and the relentless pace of change in business. Let's zoom out. What can we all learn from the Toys R Us saga? First, watch out for over-leveraging, taking on more debt than your cash flow can handle. Second, never rest on brand nostalgia alone. Customer habits can change overnight. Finally, always be ready to pivot when technology transforms your industry. Now, you might ask, is this just about toys? Absolutely not. It's about adaptability in a world where yesterday's certainty is today's risk. So next time you see a beloved brand falter, remember, the forces at play are bigger than any single store.